Hi there Striker, another video episode of Some Folklore or Mythology Creatures is my feature story for today, so let's begin our story. In folklore, a mermaid is an aquatic creature with the head and upper body of a female human and the tail of a fish. Mermaids appear in the folklore of many cultures worldwide, including Europe, Asia, and Africa. In ancient Assyria, the goddess Atargatis transformed herself into a mermaid out of shame for accidentally killing her human lover. Mermaids are sometimes associated with perilous events such as floods, storms, shipwrecks, and drownings. In other folk traditions, or sometimes within the same traditions, they can be benevolent or beneficent, bestowing boons or falling in love with humans. The male equivalent of the mermaid is the merman, also a familiar figure in folklore and heraldry. Although traditions about and sightings of mermen are less common than those of mermaids, they are generally assumed to coexist with their female counterparts. The male and the female collectively are sometimes referred to as merfolk or merpeople. The conception of mermaids in the West may have been influenced by the sirens of Greek mythology, which were originally half bird-like, but came to be pictured as half fish-like in the Christian era. Historical accounts of mermaids, such as those reported by Christopher Columbus during his exploration of the Caribbean, may have been sightings of manatees or similar aquatic mammals. While there is no evidence that mermaids exist outside folklore, reports of mermaid sightings continue to the present day. Mermaids have been a popular subject of art and literature in recent centuries, such as in Hans Christian Andersen's literary fairy tale The Little Mermaid, 1836. They have subsequently been depicted in operas, paintings, books, comics, animation, and live-action films. The origin story of mermaids is the siren of Greek mythology, especially the Odyssey, conceived of as half bird and half woman, gradually shifted to the image of a fish-tailed woman. This shift possibly started as early as the Hellenistic period but is clearly evident in mermaid-like depictions of sirens in later Christian bestiaries. Some attributes of Homer's sirens, such as the enticement of men and their beautiful song, also became attached to the mermaid. There are also naturalist theories on the origins of the mermaid, postulating they derive from sightings of manatees, dugong or even seals. The first known mermaid stories appeared in Assyria c. 1000 BC. The goddess Atargatis, mother of the Assyrian queen Semiramis, loved a mortal, a shepherd, and unintentionally killed him. Ashamed, she jumped into a lake and took the form of a fish, but the waters would not conceal her divine beauty. Thereafter, she took the form of a mermaid, human above the waist, fish below, although the earliest representations of Atargatis showed her as a fish with a human head and arm. Similar to the Babylonian god Ea, the Greeks recognized Atargatis under the name Derceto sometime before 546 BC. Milesian philosopher Anaximander postulated that mankind had sprung from an aquatic animal species. He thought that humans, who begin life with prolonged infancy, could not have survived otherwise. There is a mermaid legend attached around the sister of Alexander the Great, but that legend is of modern mintage in the 2nd century AD. The Hellenized Syrian writer Lucian of Samosata stated he has seen a Phoenician depiction of Derceto, Atargatis, as a mermaid, even though the goddess was cast in an image that was entirely a woman in the holy city. He also mentions a taboo against eating fish in a wider region, due to belief that Derceto assumes a fish form. In 1493, sailing off the coast of Hispaniola, Christopher Columbus spotted 3 sirens or mermaids which he said were not as beautiful as they are represented. due to some masculine features in their faces, but these are considered to be sightings of manatees. During Henry Hudson's second voyage, on the 15th of June 1608, members of his crew reported sighting a mermaid in the Arctic Ocean, either in the Norwegian or Barents Seas. These sightings were often recounted and shared by sailors and pirates who believed that mermaids brought bad luck and would bewitch them into giving up their gold and dragging them to the bottom of the sea. 2. Sightings were reported in Canada near Vancouver and Victoria, one from sometime between 1870 and 1890, the other from 1967. A Pennsylvania fisherman reported 5 sightings of a mermaid in the Susquehanna near Marietta in June 1881. In August 2009, after dozens of people reported seeing a mermaid leaping out of Haifa Bay waters and doing aerial tricks, the Israeli coastal town of Kiryat Yam offered a $1 million award for proof of its existence. In February 2012, work on 2 reservoirs near Gokwe Mutare in Zimbabwe stopped when workers refused to continue, stating that mermaids had hounded them away from the sites. It was reported by Samuel Sipe-Nkomo, the Water Resources Minister. The topic of mermaids in earnest has arisen in several instances of scientific scrutiny, including a biological assessment of the unlikelihood of the supposed evolutionary biology of the mermaid on the popular marine science website Deep Sea News. 5 of the primary reasons listed as to why mermaids do not fit current evolutionary understanding. Mermaids were also discussed tongue-in-cheek in a scientific article by University of Washington emeritus oceanographer Carl Bantz. His article was written as a parody but mistaken as a true scientific expose by believers as it was published in a scientific journal. A mermaid is a mythical creature with the upper body of a woman and the lower body of a fish. Mermen, the male counterparts of the mythical female mermaids, are legendary creatures, which are male human from the waist up and fish-like from the waist down, but may assume normal, human shape. Sometimes they are described as hideous and other times as handsome. Perhaps the first recorded merman was the early Babylonian sea god Ea, whose Sumerian name was Enki, and was known to the Greeks as Oan. Oan had a fish head and man's head beneath, and both a fish tail and man-like legs, according to Borosius. Triton of Greek mythology was depicted as a half-man, half-fish, merman in ancient Greek art. Triton was the son of the sea god Poseidon and sea goddess Amphitrite. Neither Poseidon nor Amphitrite were merfolk, although both were able to live underwater as easily as on land. Tritons later became generic mermen, so that multiple numbers of them were depicted in art. Tritons were also associated with using a conch shell in the later Hellenistic period. In their 16th century, Triton was referred to as the trumpeter of Neptune in Marius Nisaeus, 1551, and this phrase has been used in modern commentary. The Elizabeth period poet Edmund Spenser referred to Triton's trumpet as well. Another notable merman from Greek mythology was Glaucus. He was born a human and lived his early life as a fisherman. One day, while fishing, he saw that the fish he caught would jump from the grass and into the sea. He ate some of the grass, believing it to have magical properties, and felt an overwhelming desire to be in the sea. He jumped in the ocean and refused to go back on land. The sea gods nearby heard his prayers and transformed him into a sea god. Ovid describes the transformation of Glaucus in the Metamorphoses, describing him as a blue-green man with a fishy member where his legs had been. And this has been the origin story of half-man and half-fish creatures called mermaid if it's a woman or merman if it's a man. Hope you like our feature for today.